Did you see two of them?
Say testing. Say testing.
Bap.
That was loud. That was the wrong word. You didn't do it.
Test 1, 2, check, check, check. I think we need the microphone, this microphone up a little bit. Let's do a quick check. Test 1, 2, check. Hey, kiddos. Okay, you guys are gonna have to be real quiet, okay? You can say hi to those people online. Say hi. These are my kids saying hi to everybody online. Go ahead.
Hi.
That's Enoch and Ember.
Hi.
Okay, and that's a good sound check. I think we need to bring this up a little bit. For some reason it's slow. And if those people online could hear my kids go hi, that means that I need a thumbs up or something so we know that you guys can hear us. And let me make sure we are good. Okay, sound check 1, 2. Is that better, you guys? Check, check, check. Okay, and we got the hand mic somewhere? Got the hand mic. I got my glasses somewhere. Where did I put my glasses? And my clicker. Clicker, glasses. Awesome. I need both of these. I'll put the glasses here so I don't forget. Let's see what we're starting with. Awesome. Okay, you guys ready? I think we're going to get started. Hey, come on in. Yeah, come with, sit anywhere you want. Awesome. Okay. So, oh, this must have been a good one. What was that? Oh, I want to see. I want to watch. So anyways, for those of you online, do we have a sound check online? We good? Okay, everything is working out, right? And we got one line on the sound. One line. Good. Okay, kiddos, stay here. You guys want to say hi to everybody before we start? Yeah, don't go in there, buddy. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath because I've been running a little bit, getting everything set up and loading things up.
Nice job on
So,
hair this time.
oh, I actually, yeah, this hair?
Yeah.
Really? I did okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Looks good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. You heard that the story I told about the finder's fee thing.
Right. Yeah.
That was, yeah. He got me good on that one. Oh man, that little. Anyways, okay. For those people online, let me just kind of give a couple ground rules. If you're new to these filmings, we've been refilming the course. So there's times I say something, I'm like, that's not how I wanted to say it, so I'll just stop and re-say it. And you're not going to be able to see the screen up there. Just to let you know, we're going to edit that in afterwards. So if anybody comes on to the chat afterwards or says, I can't see the screen, can somebody out there on Zoomland just let them know, oh, you're not supposed to see the screen because this is part of the Thriveless course. Now, just to give you guys a feel, I think all of you here are members of the Thriveless course. So for those of you online who have not done it yet, you should probably do it pretty soon. This is the last filming I have. We just met with our marketing consultants down in Houston, just got back last week. They want to take the course. Right now we've been putting it out for $1,000 while I've been filming it. And then anybody who finishes it in 90 days, we give them $1,000 worth of product in the mail to congratulate them for finishing it. And we've been getting about 97% of the people finishing it. The consultants we just met with said, no more 1,000. We're taking this up to $12,000, and we're selling a whole package that goes along with it to train people, have them fly into Salt Lake, get a plan done in 3 days, 3 months of support, and just a bunch of perks. And then they have $8,000 after that to pay, so it's a $20,000 total. This course, I just had the marketing people go through, try to find anything like it on the internet. There is nothing like it in the internet. Nobody has spent 4,000 hours putting this together. Nobody has the information with amazing people, okay, who have been able to help us out to bring this together. This is the most streamlined emergency preparedness course in the world, and we haven't found anything close to it. That 4,000 hours saves you 4,000 hours of YouTube videos to get you confused afterwards and not know what to do, right? That $4,000 saves you thousands and thousands of dollars in dumb mistakes because we teach you how to do it right and then we tell you what to buy. It just makes it really easy, and we give you discounts. That's what's crazy. So there's a lot of things we've been doing to help people get prepared. At this point, we need to help do a lot more. And the idea behind it is we're going to be giving some pretty big offers to help people who have a little bit more money to be able to fund it, so that we can help people with less money to be able to fund it, to be able to help millions of people. And that's the only way we can go at this point, just like Elon Musk did. I mean, that's how he funded his whole company. He started by selling the most expensive cars to fund the middle cars, to be able to fund the cars that everybody can afford. So we're at that point right now. Our goal is to hopefully in the next year get to a point where we're able to serve millions of people with that strategy. So those of you who've not done it yet, make sure you talk to. I think everybody here has done it though. Everybody's a member here, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, talk to her afterward. Yeah. If you're a member, you have the course, right? So you're a member. So you're all in there and everything else. Anyway, I'm going to take a deep breath, and we're going to get started. We're talking about communications today, and let me just ask you before we get started in the actual thing, what are one or two things you guys hope I'll cover in this course today, so I can just keep that in mind while I'm teaching it? Okay, ham radio, awesome. What else? What is it? Yeah, what do you do? What do you do for grid down, right? Okay, how do you handle it when no electricity is running, right? Sweet. What else? Okay, local community, how to build that. Now that's a different part of the course, because we teach a whole community building part of the course. So that's later on in the course, and I've already filmed that. It's already done. Go ahead.
Forestry service.
Yeah.
And I'd like to find a location around here that can help me bring those things up to date.
And those are different frequencies than the ham radios. If it's the same ones I'm talking about, yeah. And those are dedicated channels. Come on in. And so, yeah, as firemen, we use a brick, it's a 800. We use different for fire, wildland fire, we use a different one. I'm guessing the forestry is exactly the same one we use for the wildland fires. And they're good radios. They're really strong. But yeah, you'll have to, yeah, exactly. And we won't be talking about those here, because this is more for regular families instead of EMS. And but that's a great radio to have, by the way. That's awesome.
I don't know if the technology or the industry's morphing or changing very much, or has changed into what it's becoming.
Yep.
If something like that's
totally. Yeah, things are changing, by the way. And I'll show you that today, what's happening, and how the whole world is changing as far as emergency communications. So we'll talk about that today. Anything else? Okay, so this is my goal today, just to let you know. We can go deep into ham radio and wavelengths and frequencies and everything from, high frequency, ultra, I'm tired already. Can you see? Ultra high frequency, super high frequency. We can go to everything that's going to bore you to death. The problem is I've got to make this so that I can teach the basic principles without going too deep. And that's my goal today, is not to teach so much that it overwhelms the people who are watching the videos, but to give a very basic overview of what you need to do to get prepared. So then you can go deeper and learn more about GMRS, or you can go deeper and learn about ham radio, you can go deeper and learn about this and that and everything else. But I'm going to give you that much of a overview. Come on in. Let's see. And then, but anyways, is that fair? Okay, so in this video, because I'm hoping to not have to film this for another 6 years, I'm probably not going to mention, I might mention a few different radios, but I probably won't mention the model numbers. There's always better model numbers coming out. So underneath the video, I plan on putting the radios or the equipment or whatever that's the latest, greatest that people can find. And if I find something better, the rule we have with our businesses is when we find something better, we replace it. When we find something better, we replace it. So if I find something better over time, I'll just keep replacing things and say, this is what we used to sell, this is what we sell now, this is what I used to recommend, this is what we recommend now. Deal? Okay. So I need some, I can tell I'm a little bit with my ADD. I'm just going to do something real quick. Do you have one of the, no, one of the 7s or anything open? If not, I have one in the car. A 7 or CBD. Okay, I'm just going to grab one out here. Hey, buddy, can you do me a favor? Can you stand here and just say hi to people online? Did you want to come up here, buddy? Now he's thinking twice? Huh? Yeah, what is it?
We're meeting at Food Storage Depot.
Yeah, you want to get in front? Here, you can say hi. It's okay before we start. But once we start, you're going to have to be real quiet. Okay?
Tell us your name.
Say Enoch.
Enoch.
Yeah, can you say, see that camera right there? There's a bunch of people on there. Can you wave to them? He's 5 years old. He's my little buddy. Aren't you my buddy? Yeah. Okay, now get back over there. And Ember, do you want to say hi too before I start? Okay. And let's get started. And buddy, can you put this on my bag? Right there? Thank you. All right. Communications. When we talk about communications, this is one of the also, let me start over. We're talking about communications today, and this is also one of the big popular classes that people want to know about. It's well, most people, I'm having a hard time getting started with this one. So we're talking about communications today, and this is a popular class. A lot of people want to know about it, how to do it right, and how to prepare for when the grid goes down, and in between all of that with a good grid and a bad grid, right? I'm really struggling to start today. Can you guys just give me a quick clap or something? I just got to get... Oh, thank you. Thanks for encouraging me. Yeah. Yeah, switch. I need the switch. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, we are talking about communications. What a fun topic. The funny thing about it is when a disaster hits, and you guys see it in the news, communications is the first thing to go down a lot of times, and it's also one of the most important things you can have going up and staying up, right? Now, why is it so important? First of all, it's good for information gathering. First of all, it's good for information gathering. You need to know what's happening out there. Next, it's good for coordinating relief efforts and other type of efforts, calling for help and support, checking on family, checking on friends, checking on neighbors, and checking on coworkers if you're doing this for a business. The first thing that people ask me, let me just see this. Let's go like this. Let me see how I want to do this. A lot of people tell me, what do I need to do to get prepared for communications? Well, I ask the question back to them, well, who are you going to the question I ask back is, who are you going to communicate with? It doesn't matter what I can tell you right now. You need to find out who you're going to communicate with, because that's going to determine everything you need to do for communications. So those of you watching the video right now, those of you at home those of you watching the video, or those of you are at home watching a video, okay? Those of you on the video right now watching it, I want you to pause the video and I want you to figure out who you need to communicate with, who you need. Boy, I am really struggling today. It's the last video.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah, this is crazy.
You're doing great.
Okay. Yeah. It's called getting this done like 2 hours before and 2 hours of driving and getting here perfectly in time to present something I've never presented. So the PowerPoint just got done. So here goes. A lot of people come up to me and say, what do I need to do for communications a lot of people come up to me and ask me, what do I need to do for communications during an emergency? And I ask them the question back, well, who do you need to communicate? Well, who do you need to communicate with? That's the biggest question I can ask. That's the biggest question I can ask them, because if I know that, then I know what to tell them to do as far as communications go. I can give you some examples of people that you could want to communicate with, and then I'm going to have you do some homework. You can talk to some of the people that you might want to communicate with are immediate family, extended family, emergency contacts, friends, roommates, neighbors, emergency services, school or daycare, utility providers, preparedness groups, religious leaders, community leaders, employees or coworkers, or you might want to listen to or communicate with radio, TV, and other media outlets to know what's going on. or you might want to hear from or communicate with radio, TV, or, man, I am struggling. This is called not enough food, not enough sleep, and I can do this. I can do this. Or you might want to hear from radio, TV, and other media, in other media contacts, in other media outlets. Or you might want to hear from radio, TV, or other media outlets to see what's happening out there, or maybe even communicate. I'm going to get that part on the TV, so I need to say it right. Or you might want to hear from the radio, or you might want to gather information from the radio, from TV, or from other media outlets. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to have everybody pause the video who's watching this right now, and I'm going to have you write down who do you need to communicate with. Super important. Let's get that down, and then let's get to the next stage. Let's get that down, and then let's get to the next. What am I going to talk about next? Okay. Okay. Before we go on with the rest of the video, I'm just going to finish the last part. You guys are so patient. I feel so stupid right now, but I can do this. Yeah, thank you guys. Usually it's not this hard, but it's lack of sleep right now. Yeah, maybe just a little drink of water. Yeah, I think I need that. It's no, I'll just do this.
I want you to survive this.
Absolutely. It's like not that long of a course today, but for some reason I'm just struggling to do it. It's a lot easier when I don't have to think about it being filmed.
The air conditioning is on.
Thank you. Yeah. I know you love survival tabs, don't you, my boy? Yeah, you're cute. And not right now, okay? Because I'm going to teach. All right. And some people want to hear from the radio and know what's going on. And some people want to know what's going on from the radio, from TV, or from other media outlets. Now, before we get to the rest of this course right here, lesson. Okay, yeah, sorry. And a lot of people want to know what's going on, so they want to hear and a lot of people want to go, I'm going to slow down. This is like the last one, and it's the hardest one for some reason. And a lot of people want to know what's going on the radio, on TV, or not social media. And a lot of people want to gather information during an emergency from the radio, from the TV, or from media outlets. So that's really important as well. Before we get to the rest of this lesson, I'm going to have you pause the video. I want you to figure out who do you need to communicate with during an emergency. Because once you dial in on that, you know exactly what you're going to do for that, or who you want to talk to, or who you want to hear from. Then you know exactly what you need to do to be able to prepare for that emergency. So go ahead and pause the video, and then let's just come back in a few minutes when you're ready, and we'll start it back up and keep going. I got through! Oh my goodness, I got through that part! Yay! Okay. Back in Thrivalist step number 2, we talked about communications. We didn't go too deep into it, but we talked about what's called a PACE plan. Okay? A PACE plan is used in communications to be able to create a primary, alternative, contingency, and emergency backup for communications. During this lesson, we're going to be talking about the PACE. During this lesson, I want you to keep in mind that you always have to have some type of redundancy when it comes to communication. You just can't have one way of doing it. I'm going to challenge you to have at least 3 or 4 different ways, but if you want to follow the PACE plan, that's a good way to do it. So when it comes to communication, I like to put things in tiers. The first tier is normal operations when the grid's still up. The second tier is partial outages where things are spotty or limited services. And the third tier is a total grid down. That means no power, no cell phones, and no internet. What are you going to do then? Let's start by talking about normal operation when the grid's still up. First of all, start with what you're familiar with. Calling, texting. As long as the cell towers are working, use it. Use your messaging apps. You can use messaging apps like WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram. VoIP or video calls like FaceTime or Zoom, email. And email is really good because you can send a lot of information. You can send pictures, checklists, so much information at one time for be able to let's see, maps. And email is really good because it allows you to send so much information at one time, including pictures of the event, what's happening. Communicating with pictures is just so powerful because it tells a whole story, right? You can put in maps, you can put in checklists, anything you need to be able to get more done in less time with your communication. Also, there's social media, Facebook, X, Nextdoor, and anything else that allows you to communicate what you need to the groups that you need to communicate to. Okay. As also, if everything's working, I'm just going to see what's in here. Okay. If everything's working just fine out there and the grid's still up, you're going to get if everything's working just fine out there and the grid's still up, you're going to get alerts. You're going to get alerts from emergency management organizations. You're going to get, what's the word? It's not organizations. Agencies. Thank you. Okay. You're going to get alerts from different government agencies. First of all, you want to look at your local community alerts. Sometimes you live in a place where they actually do have a city or a county text or emails or apps for weather or something else. Next, you want to look at what they do nationally. Now, there's three national emergency alert systems. There's the WEA, which does Amber Alerts and tells you about disasters and evacuations. There's EAS, which has to do with interrupting TV and radio broadcasts. You've probably seen that This is a message from the National Emergency Broadcast thing, right? You've seen that as kids and everything else. And then there's IPAWS, and there's IPAWS. Now this is FEMA's system that takes all the other ones. This is FEMA's system that takes all the rest of them in, like WEA, EAS, NOAA, and everything else, and kind of organizes it to be able to send it out. And then another thing is, and then some of you live in a place where it's dangerous. I mean, there's some natural emergencies, potential for chemical spills. There's maybe, if you're in Japan, that's dumb. You're not in Japan. We're talking to U.S. Okay. And then also there's audible warnings. You've heard the sirens, you've heard the loudspeakers saying that there's a tsunami coming or some big tornado or something. Get underground. Get underground. And then there's audible warnings, from the city or from the county, where they set it up so that there's some type of siren or some type of loudspeaker telling you to get into some type of safe place because there's a tornado coming or flooding or something else. I need to end that part somehow. Okay. And then there's audible warnings where the city or the county does some type of siren or they do some type of loudspeaker that allows the community to know that there's some type of danger coming, right? Some type of earthquake. Oh, man, I am really struggling. Guys, I am so sorry. Good thing this is a short class today. Maybe it will last 4 hours, huh? I know, jeez. I know. It's me. I know. I have to go through and I just go, man, because I want to be able to say the right thing. So I'm like, no, I didn't mean that. So, and then there's audible warnings that come from the city or the county. You've heard the sirens, the loudspeakers saying there's some type of tornado or flooding or some type of danger that's coming, a chemical spill or who knows what it is. Now, all that is part of when the grid is working just fine. Well, what happens when it becomes spotty? What happens when it's turning off, turning on, and how do you handle that? The first thing you need to look at when you're in that type of, the first thing to consider when you're in that type of situation is get yourself some type of emergency radio. Now, if you don't have a backup power station at home or anything else, I suggest you get some type of portable radio that allows you to put batteries in. It allows you to crank it if you need to. Here's an example of one that we carry in the store. You can crank it to power it up. You can pop this back off and get solar going on it as well. Now, when you look at this radio, this is just a very simple radio. There's more complex ones than this. And this does the job, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. What you want to look at is, let me just see if the three things I'm covering. The things that I like on this radio, for example, are that it has the NOAA weather alerts, so I can find out what's happening. And I'll show you this so you understand it. NOAA weather alerts, there's a thing, specific area message encoding. Are you guys familiar with that? Okay. So with the NOAA weather alerts, if you can get a radio that has SAME, which is specific area message encoding, you can actually program your local area onto the radio so you can hear what's happening at any time, depending on the type of emergency and everything else. It's really cool. If you don't have that, it's okay. When you look at this, and I'll turn it on for you, I'll see if you guys can actually hear it. Let me turn it up a little bit. Can you guys hear that sound? I'll put it out next to the, what happens is this. There are 7 NOAA stations here, and you won't know which one it is unless you start clicking into them, and then you'll hear one of them go. Now, this morning I was 2 hours north of my house, and I'm on channel number 7 here in Salt Lake. But earlier this morning, I was on channel number 1 for where I live. And you just click it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there it is, number 7. Got it? And that's how you figure it out. It's really easy. So that's a way to get around the whole programming it as well. Now, the other things you want to look at on these radios is you want to see if there's an AM, FM radio, and if you can get shortwave, that's high frequency radio, that's even better. Shortwave, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in the course. Shortwave is what they used back in World War II to be able to hear what's happening in Germany from the United States, and they're like going, wait, these guys are doing the wrong propaganda and everything else. The United States or France or whoever else is saying something totally different. We know the truth. We got to get out there and teach people. That's high frequency. You have a radio wave that's able to bounce off the ionosphere, and sometimes it's stronger at night, sometimes it's better in the day, and sometimes it's better with sunspots. It's just crazy. But what happens is that wave hits and comes down somewhere else in the world, comes up, comes down somewhere else in the world, and you're able to communicate with people all over the place. This right here has shortwave on it. There's one big problem. What's the problem? The antenna, right? Because what happens is when you're talking about shortwave, this little 18-inch antenna is not going to do it. So you have to get something that's a lot bigger than this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. When you look at this little attachment right here, this sells with this radio, and it's about a 20-foot attachment that you can actually stick on here, and it becomes an antenna. Now 20 is kind of the minimum. That's what you're doing inside the house. That allows you just to get a few more shortwave radio stations. But if you can get a longer and a longer and longer antenna, I mean, to go out 100 feet, 200 feet, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to get more and more stations. So with this right here, all you have to do is just get yourself a little alligator clip. Okay, get a wire. You can be a 22 gauge, a 24 gauge, 20 gauge, whatever, if you're not going too far out. And then just kind of hang it up somewhere. And all of a sudden you can catch more short radio waves. Short radio waves. Okay? You can catch more shortwave radio waves. Hopefully I can do that and it doesn't mess it all up. I should have even said that afterwards. I don't even know what I'm going to say after. Let's see what's next. Okay. That's good. Let me turn this off. Any questions on that so far, by the way? No? Okay, good. Well, when you get past the emergency radio and you have that in place, which everybody should have in place, then you want to look at two-way radios. Two-way radios is what everybody wants to know about, right? The whole walkie-talkie, rubber ducky, hey, come on in. My little kids here, they'll do, hey, poopy daddy, and I'm like, poopy daddy, come on. You know, it's like, that's probably dumb.
don't get
Might
it.
be true, but yes.
It is true. Cute kiddos, that's what you are. He's laughing. You're laughing at me. Yeah. So two-way radios are the kind of two-way radios is what everybody thinks about when they think about emergency preparedness communications. That's the walkie-talkies everybody wants to have. But a lot of people are getting the wrong stuff. They're going to Costco, Walmart, who knows wherever else, and they're just getting the radios I would never get for emergencies. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about. There's some popular radios out there that everybody, the most popular radios out there, I put on this list. There's about 5 of them. 5? Oops, yeah. There's 5 of them. There's 5 most popular radios when it comes to emergency preparedness. First of all, there's Family Radio Service, also called FRS. I'm just going to talk because it's easier for me to not look at anything. Okay, so there's 5 of them. First of all, there's FRS. This is Family Radio Station Services. Thank you. I need to calm down, right? First of all, there's FRS. Okay, FRS is the one that most people get. This is the one you buy from Walmart and from Costco and other places, thinking you got the best radio in the world for emergencies. But FRS isn't the best thing for emergencies. This is a very low power, not great solution, but it's great for kids. In fact, when my kids want to go to the neighbors or anything else, guess what I give them? Radios, right? And they go out there and I can just call them anytime I want to find out where they're at, what's happening. And the cool thing about it is I'm doing 2 wonderful things with that. I'm keeping them away from cell phones, okay? And getting corrupted by the crazy stuff that are on cell phones at an early age. And number 2, I'm teaching them emergency preparedness and they don't even know it. Isn't that cool? The next one is called MERS. MERS, let me see, I don't have any MERS with me. I didn't bring any. Bummer. Okay, the next one is MERS. MERS isn't super well known and it's not super popular. It's good because it's less crowded, but it doesn't have the capabilities of some of the other radios that I'm going to talk about. The next one is CB or Citizen. The next one is CB or Citizens Band. I don't even need to say Citizen Band. The next one is CB. You know, the truckers. People talk about, hey, good buddy, come on in, good buddy, right? That's the CB. CB is good because it has high frequency in there. You can talk long distances. It's sometimes hard to understand people, and it's great for trucking, and it's good for the backcountry as well. Not the best thing for long-term emergencies. If I were to tell you the best radios for long-term, if I were to tell you the best radios for long-term emergencies, it would come down to 2 of them, GMRS and ham radios. And I'll explain why throughout this presentation. Let's see. I'm probably going to throw these in here. You guys want to know anything about that before I move on? Okay, just GMRS. So let's talk about GMRS. What makes it good? First of all, it's the same channels as FRS, but it's a lot more powerful. It can do so much more during an emergency because more power means I can talk over people, right? And so everybody else who has the regular radios, okay, the ones, let me just try to think this out real quick. I think I'm going to go to this and then I'm going to come back. I think that's going to be better. Okay, let's go to this. So let's talk about the different strengths and weaknesses of each one of these. First of all, there's FRS. First of all, let's talk about testing required. A lot of people don't want to do radios because they don't want to have to take some type of test. Well, let's dispel. A lot of people don't want to do radios because they don't want to take some type of national test or something like that. I'm going to dispel a few things for you. First of all, most of the radios you don't have to do that. You'll notice that FRS, MERS, CB, and GMRS do not require any tests at all. The only one that requires a test is ham radio or amateur radio. And the cool thing about it is that they give you all the questions and they give you all the answers. You can actually go through every single question and learn every single answer and go take the test, and you just have to regurgitate it. It's like super easy. Now there's 3 levels of ham radio. There's technician, general, and there's extra. With technician, you can get on a ham radio and start talking. Thank you. With technician, you can get on the radio and start talking. With general, you can actually start using high frequency, the one that bounces off the ionosphere, the one that, oh man, thank you. I'm getting this done. All right, we're doing this. Okay, what was I talking about? Okay, so with ham radio, there's 3 levels. There's technician, there's general, and there's extra. Technician's the basic one. That's the one. Technician's the basic one. That's the one that allows you to talk on ham radios. If you go up just one more to general, now you can start using high frequencies so you can be communicating with people all over the world. Whether you do the test or whether you become ham certified or not, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. If you can, go get a high frequency base station anyways. Go get some type of high frequency radio and set up some antennas if you can and tune it in as much as you can, because guess what? You don't have to have a license to listen. You just have to have a license to talk. Now, once you get comfortable with it and you go memorize all the questions out there, because they give you all the questions, they give you all the answers for the ham radio tests, then you can go get your licenses and talk as much as you want to, but you're going to get some practice in ahead of time. So don't let that hold you back. Don't let a test hold you back. Going into the license required, you'll notice that there's only 2 that need licenses, and that's GMRS and ham radio. GMRS and ham radio both require a $35 license. It lasts for 10 years or so. And the cool thing about the GMRS is that you can share that license with your immediate family. You can do it with your extended family, your dog's brother, and a whole bunch of others. I mean, they just open it up to everyone. Anyone can use one license. One person pays it, which I did for my family, and everyone in my family, including my father-in-law and everybody else, gets to use my license. With ham, it's individual. Next is we're talking about repeaters. You'll notice that most of them don't use repeaters except for GMRS and ham. What's a repeater? A repeater is basically a radio that accepts a wave and transmits a wave. You can put it on top of a mountain hill or on top of anything that is able to capture the wave coming from my handheld, from my mobile unit, which is in my car, or from my base station at home. And it's able to capture that communication and push it along the way. If you live in Southern California, for example, where I came from, they have an amazing network there where you can talk all over Southern California, from Tijuana all the way up to, I think, Santa Barbara, where they have an amazing, I forgot the word, a network of what it's called. Repeaters, thank you. Where they have an amazing network of repeaters. Same thing in Utah. Now, trying to connect Utah to California is a different story. And that's where high frequency is going to start making more sense to you. The next thing is antennas. Remember I told you antennas are super important. The next thing is antennas. Remember I told you that antennas are really important to be able to hear further distances. Now you'll notice right here, I've got a bunch of whips, I got a bunch of rubber duckies, all the different things right here that you can put on a radio. And this allows me to be able to talk a lot further than I could any other way. One of the reasons why I say these are just for kids to learn on, these FRS radios, is because you can never take the antenna off. All the other radios you can take the antenna off and you can extend it and you can get a better range. These right here, they don't go very far. You know how they say, oh, it'll go 2 miles or 5 miles or whatever else, and then you go a couple houses down and you can't hear anything, right? They're not the best for emergency situations. How did I lose that? No, this. Really? That's weird. Okay, let me just put it back on. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thanks for being so supportive. And somehow the whole computer just got rid of what I needed. That's so weird. Anybody know why that could have happened? Are we still filming, Kyle? Can you ask the people online if the internet went down? And we captured all of that, right? We didn't miss anything? Can you ask the people online if they missed any part of it, if it clipped out for a little bit? If not, if we can find out where it clipped, that would be awesome. Let's turn this back on. Let's see if we can get this going again. All of it's good. And thank you guys for helping out so much. Let's see if we can figure out why this went down. It is not showing up at all. That's so weird. Okay. Anybody know Max pretty well? Yeah, usually you can cast it, but it's not casting at all. Yeah, I don't know why it stopped casting all of a sudden. Could it be on this thing, on the TV? It's possible. Does anybody know how to do that here? You know how to do it? Recent input. So PC, well, it's not HDMI 2 because we're streaming it. Unless my computer switched this. South Jordan store, let's try this one. Let's see what happens. It might have switched on me. There it is.
There it is. Nice.
Okay. Okay, we figured it out. Okay, sweet. Okay, yay, we got it back. Okay, so where were we? We were on CAN upgrade antenna, right? Okay. Then the next thing you need to understand with these radios is power. When you look at the different types of radios, you'll notice there's a big difference in power. Remember how I told you that FRS and MERS aren't my favorite? One of the reasons is because it goes down to half a watt up to 2 watts of power. That's not very much. Where if you just pump it up, is that even a word for this? If you look at CB, you'll see that it doubles that. And when you get to GMRS and ham, it's 50 watts, and when you get to GMRS, it's 50 watts, and when you get up to ham, it's 1500 watts. Now, not saying that all of these radios are 50 watts and 1500 watts, right? This one right here is a 5 watt GMRS, where you can get a 10 watt ham radio, for example, handheld. But I can get a 50 watt GMRS mobile inside my car. Same thing with a ham radio, or I can, if I have the right licenses and everything, I can go up to 1500 watts at home with a base station and big amplifiers and everything else with amateur radio or ham radio. Amateur radio and ham radio, those are the same thing, by the way. It's exactly the same genre, amateur, ham. Let's see. Just like I talked about earlier, the more watts you have, the more distance you can communicate. just like I talked about earlier, the more watts you have, the more distance you can communicate, but also you can talk over other people or if they're on the same, but also you can, but also you can talk over other people who have less powerful radios if you're on the same stations. So let's talk about channels. You'll notice that FRS has 22 channels, MERS has 5, and that's okay with MERS because MERS doesn't have a lot of competition, not a ton of people are using it. But you'll notice that CB has 40, and then GMRS has the same 22 that FRS has, just more powerful, remember. But it also has 8 repeater channels that can add to that so that you can, but it also has 8 repeater channels that you can add to that so that you can be talking long distances with the GMRS, not having to do the big test with ham radio. That's dumb. I don't know why I said that, but let's see. But then you get to ham radio. The crazy thing is, you know, we're talking about 22 channels, 5 channels, 40 channels. We're talking about 30 channels. Now we get to ham radio, thousands of channels over so many different frequencies. And this is the key. When people say, what should I get? What should I start with? I just say, well, what's harder to get into? You know? And people ask me, what should I get into? Like, what type of radio should I get? And I go, first of all, start with the GMRS. But remember and I tell them, I can do this. Okay, I got to tie my shoe. Okay, there. Yeah, this will do it for me. Tie my shoe. All right. Let me just try to think what I'm trying to say. Yeah, my girl. I know it's kind of funny, huh? This is the most I've struggled on any class. And should I jump, girl? Okay. There you go. What was I just talking about? I'm just going to talk about it again. That's right. Okay, so a lot of people will ask me, like, what type of radio should I get into? What should I start with? And I tell people, obviously, GMRS, right? That's the thing you want to start with. But remember the principle. The principle is this. The harder it is to learn, the harder it is to get into, like taking a test, the less people are in it. The less people that are in it, the more availability you have to be able to use that radio during an emergency. Have you ever used one of those FRSs or any of the radios where you're on a certain channel and then you hear somebody else talking on your channel, right? Or they're messing it up because you're trying to talk to somebody and somebody else is talking, you're like, come on. So you go, hey, let's switch to a different channel, right? You don't have as much of that when you have thousands of frequencies to choose from, thousands of channels. So I tell people, if you can get up to a ham radio, go for it. That's a great way to go. As far as frequency goes, there's everything from low frequency, middle frequency, high frequency, all the way up to extreme frequencies, right? When it comes to these radios, most of them are going to land between high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency. Those are where most of them are going to land. Okay. And then the next one is, and then a lot of people wonder, do I have to say my call sign every time I'm on the radio? And the truth is you don't for most of the radios. So FRS, MERS, CBD. Where is my CBD? So people ask, do I have to say my call sign every single time? You know, mine's KA. Okay, my brain is really tired already. Why is it tired? Because I haven't slept. Okay. A lot of people ask, do I have to say my call sign every time I'm on the radio? And for most of the radios, you don't have to. So with CB, you don't have to. With MERS, you don't have to. With FRS, you don't have to. You're supposed to do this with GMRS. I don't know anyone who does. Very few people do. When you get to ham, there's a whole different culture there. It's kind of like golfing. You know, if anybody walks across your line, you're in trouble, right? With ham, you got to keep every single rule and you got to keep it really well because, again, there's a whole personality that comes with ham radio. And with that, you do need to say your call sign on a normal basis when you start and end a conversation and in between as well.
How do you get your call sign? Is it assigned to you when you get your license?
So the question is, how do you get your call sign? And yes, when you pass the test, they're going to assign one to you. Does that make sense? And you can actually get just like you get a license plate that has a really cool name on it, you can change it if you want to later. But for me personally, I love mine, so I just kept it. And it's really easy to get. Let's see what's there. By the way, KA7, I'm really having a hard time. By the way, for those of you out there, it's KA7AMH is mine. For anybody who wants to have it. The cool thing about it is usually I don't want to give out my phone number and my email, and I don't want people contacting me all the time. But with ham radio, people put it on their cards. They put them on their cards. They put it on their letterheads. They put it on their foreheads. I mean, it's just everywhere you look, they're giving out their call sign because it's not that big of a deal, right? If people reach out to you or reach out to me during an emergency, I'm okay with that. I would like for them to reach out to me. KA7AMH. All right. The next thing is scanners, so that you don't have to be listening to every single station, but you can just put it on but you can put it on autopilot and have it. But you can put it on autopilot and have the radio find some type of channel. But you can put it on autopilot and have the radio find the channels where people are talking, and you don't have to just be there all day long, clicking, trying to find them. FRS doesn't have that. MERS rarely has it, but the rest of them have it, which is a really cool thing. And last of all is the easiness and the harder. And last of all is the easiness in the harderness. I just created a word. Everything is easy. All the radios are easy to use except for ham. Ham takes a little bit more work. But once you get it, all the rest of them are easy except for ham. But once you get ham down, it becomes more and more fun, and it becomes more of a hobby, and you want to learn more and more about it because there's so many things you can do with it. One last piece of advice I'd like to give before we leave the radio section is a lot of people coming. One more piece of advice I'd like to give before we leave the radio section is a lot of people come to me and ask about this thing called rapid radios. Has anybody heard about the rapid radios? Yeah. So what's happening is they're all over the internet. Everybody's spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars getting these rapid radios because you can be in California talking to your daughter or son in New York and everything else. It's a gimmick. So don't fall for it. What happens is this. They created a walkie-talkie that you press and it goes through the cell phone towers, and then you can talk to somebody in a different state and they can talk to you back. They say no month-to-month contract, but you read the fine print, you have to pay for the cell phone coverage every single year. No month-to-month contract, but a yearly contract, right? Now, as of yet, that's a dumb idea for emergencies because what happens? When the cell phone towers go down, you have no way of contacting that loved one across the United States. Now, they might make $1 million gazillion and be able to connect to some type of satellite they put in space sometime in the future. So I'm not saying that someday, but they might not have something better. But right now, don't fall for it. Read the fine print. Don't fall for it. And that you guys have heard of rapid radios, right? They are making so many millions of dollars. So you've got it. You fell for it. And then I want to hear your experience on that, by the way. Okay, let's get your. So you fell for it. You got the rapid radio.
Yep, I did. I got the rapid radios, and I mean, I do talk to my sister in Arizona.
Yeah.
However, they keep bugging you about paying the service.
Yeah.
And I finally shut it off.
Yeah, exactly. And you found out probably later on that it really isn't, some type of walkie-talkie radio.
Ham radio's the way to go.
Yeah, it's not a ham radio or anything like that. Yeah, exactly. All right. So here goes one of the more popular things, and this was one of the questions we had earlier before we started, and it has to do with upcoming technologies. Everybody has heard about satellite phones, and everybody knows about how expensive satellite phones are. There's a reason why most of us don't do satellite phones. So a lot of us go to satellite messengers. Now, it was you that told me you ended up getting saved with the satellite messenger. Would you mind sharing that story?
Yeah, so in October I was gonna do a hike through on the Appalachian Trail part of it, not
Yeah.
the whole thing, and we were up on the top of a ridge, and we got caught in fire. They were doing a prescribed burn, and unfortunately, me and my friend and her dog were not stopped at wherever they stopped the hikers going through. They thought
Yeah.
they had everybody out, but we were the only two left on the mountain on the prescribed burn. And so we got caught completely surrounded by fire.
Wow.
And so I had a Garmin InReach, and we pulled that out because we had no exit. I had no exit. And we text, you can text on it. And so you send out a signal, and it was really cool because people from all over the United States were coming back.
Isn't that cool?
It was really interesting.
Yeah.
And people were contacting the firefighters there in North Carolina and giving our location, because it sends out a location and some other stuff that you can do on a Garmin InReach. And long story short, horrific story short,
Yeah.
I was found in a river.
Wow. And you're alive. That's what's
And I'm
crazy.
alive. My friend was alive. We got separated in the smoke. We couldn't see each other. I had the loudest whistle in the world. She couldn't hear my whistle.
Wow.
Time we got out, the dog's feet were burned, paws were burned,
So scary.
my shoes were melted, my clothing was melted. I was singed.
It's so
And
scary.
so yeah.
As a
But,
fireman, we have to watch videos of how people die and everything else, especially other firemen. And it's
smoke
sad.
inhalation is really sad.
Smoke
I work in a burn
inhalation,
unit,
everything.
and that's a bad thing, is to have smoke inhalation.
Absolutely. And it's
So,
scary. And
yeah.
it's nothing to play around with. That
No.
fire stuff is really scary.
But that Garmin InReach was the ticket.
Yeah. Those little messengers can save your life. They're connected to, obviously to satellites, so anywhere you're at, you can connect to it. But this is the cool thing, and this is going back to your question about what's coming down the pike, and that's satellite to device. Things are changing. Those cell phones that you've had to pay all that money for, I think they're going to go away. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but my T-Mobile right now, when I go in the middle of the mountains, it says, now you're connecting to satellite. And I'm able to text people in the middle of the mountains. No cell phone towers at all, anywhere close. And then you have the same thing happening with the latest of Apple's cell phone and Google's cell phone, the latest versions of those. You can text SOS, you can text during an emergency, connected to a satellite. And then you have what's happening with Elon Musk and Starlink, where they're coming out with the Pi phone, the Pi tablet. You can be in the craziest location in the world. You can be at the top of Mount Everest, and you can be on a tablet eventually, and possibly a computer in the future, and a cell phone that's connected to the satellites somewhere at any time. And that's what's happening. What does that do for emergency preparedness? Amazing. Now, in the meanwhile, while that's starting to develop, what I like to do is I get myself a satellite dish. So this right here is a Starlink satellite dish. It's something I can take with me at any time and plug in, and I can have internet anywhere in the world. And that's a cool thing because I can do voice over IP. I can talk to people through the internet like I'm on a cell phone, on my computer, on my tablet, okay? I can do FaceTime. I can do so many different things just by having the internet through satellites. So that's a good redundancy as well. It's a little over 100, 150-ish. So it depends. There's two different amounts, and I can't remember what I paid. But in all reality, it's $100 and something. A month. Yeah. Yeah, but you see what they're about to do with the, the tablet and cell phone that Starlink is coming out with. I think it's like $10 a month, something like that, to be connected to the internet or to satellite. That's what I heard, something like that. But it's just going to be so cheap, so easy to get. I think his tablet's going to be under $200 to get that thing. I mean, it's.
Rumor is now he's going to go IPO very shortly here.
Oh yeah.
And once he does that, there's going to be a ton of money coming in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with all this. I mean, it's a game changer. Changes everything. Say again.
Repeat what he said.
Oh, IPO. So they're gonna do an initial public offering for Starlink. I didn't know that, by the way. Thank you. So I better get in there, huh? Do something. Exactly. Awesome. All right. Let's go the next one. Okay. The next thing I like to talk about if the grid is spotty is a thing called Meshtastic. It's using the mesh network. It's using the mesh network. Yeah. It's like, have you ever tried to say unique New York 5 times fast? Yeah. Or toy boat. You can't do it. You know, red roll, right? Okay. So it's using the mesh network. What a mesh is that there's no centralized communication portal, right? It's like a spider web. Everybody's connected to everybody else, so it doesn't matter who is talking to who because there's no central hub, and it's really cool. Mesh network, I'll show you. This is mine right here. These little devices can connect to my cell phone and to my computer, and I can connect to GPS if I need to be able to see all the people in my mesh network, and I can see where they are on a map. Now the cool thing about it is because I'm connecting this through Bluetooth to my cell phone, I can have 0 cell phone coverage. All of the towers can be down in the world, right? And I can still be texting people line of sight, which means I could be here texting somebody probably on that mountain over there because they're a little higher, and they can receive my text just from my cell phone, projecting it through these radio waves. And it's the coolest thing in the world. So we're texting back and forth. Some people will set up these mesh networks or buy existing devices for a group or for some type of emergency efforts where they're trying to save somebody in the back country, but they're really awesome to look into. So I suggest that you look into Meshtastic. It's called Meshtastic, and see if it works for something you can use during an emergency. Any questions on that before I leave it? Did that make sense? Or was it confusing a little bit? Pretty easy? Okay, cool. It's a cool little technology. It's fun to play around with. And last, when the and last of all, when the net, what's not a network? The utilities, what did we call it? A what? Grid. Awesome. Thank you. And last of all, if the grid is spotty and it keeps going up and down, one of the best things you can have, if you can still get it in your area, is an analog landline phone. It actually is powered through the lines. It doesn't require cell phone coverage. You can still make calls all over the place. So if our cell phone towers go down here in Utah and somebody across the United States still has their cell phone towers, I can still be calling them through a landline. So you might want to consider having one of those as well. Okay, here's the fun one, total grid down. No electricity, no power, no phones, no internet. What do you do at that point? Say again? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So you're saying campfire in a blanket, but you're not too far off. If we had no electricity going at all, and you cannot use even ham radios, and everything's down, right? Everything is shot. Some type of EMP, something, a solar flare that happened, everything's burned out. What do you do at that point? Well, you're going to be localized for the most part. You're going to have to figure out, how do we communicate with one another locally, right? And sometimes it gets pretty bad. So you need to be able to communicate in a way where it doesn't put you in danger. You want to use as many of your 5 senses as possible to communicate. And you think about touch or taste or smell or sight or listening, right? Auditory. And whatever you can use in those 5 senses, that's what you do. So we'll start with visual communications. I'll read off a few of these for you so you can see just some ideas. Signaling mirrors, flashlights, strobe lights, LED blinkers. You can even use the little blinkers on your car if you need to communicate. Glow sticks, tracer bullets. Now, tracer bullets are interesting because it's going to make a loud noise, but if you're lost in the middle of somewhere and you have some tracer bullets, not only can they hear where you're at to come save you, but they can see where you're at as well at nighttime. So that's just a cool little idea somebody passed along to me. Yeah, and then you can shoot them. And then you can shoot them afterwards, right, if you need to. Oh, great. Laser pointers. I'm going to show you this. This is kind of fun. I told this story earlier about being able to communicate with my friend when we were in Italy. And at the time, we didn't have cell phones. It was years ago. So what we did is we ended up getting some little high-powered hand lasers, and these things can go for miles. And nobody can see them unless you shine them next to them or whatever else. They're not going to see it at night, at dark. When it's super dark, you can see a little beam. That's true. But in dusk and everything else, you could barely see that beam. But watch right behind me. Do you see that? Green's going to be the best one. That's the most powerful one. You got blue right here. You got red right there. So we had green lasers in Italy. And when I would get separated from my friend and his wife, it was my wife and me, and it was him and his wife. And we would get separated in the crowds. All we had to do was take this green light and we would just shine it a mile or so away on a cathedral or something, on a building, until he saw me doing this. And then he would shine back the other way. And then we would shine back, and then we would find each other by doing that. And it was the coolest thing because we could just get closer to closer buildings until we found each other. There's a lot of creative ways you can communicate during emergencies if you just put your brain to it. Smoke signals, lanterns, flares, candles, firelight, flags, panels, cloths, ribbons. I like to have those little emergency ribbons that you can just tear off and you can just tie on trees or branches or whatever and kind of lead people to where you want them to go. And I have those in my car during emergencies. I can use that anytime for first responders or for anybody else I need to be able to help out. Semaphore flags. Do you know what those are? Okay, yeah, exactly. Semaphore flags, like airplanes and everything else, right? Reflective materials, ground markings, sidewalk chalk, spray paint, bright clothing, window markers, shutter signals, right? Opening and closing shutters, whatever it takes. When it comes to visual communications also, you got to remember that you need visual detection tools as well, like binoculars, monoculars, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, telescopes, periscopes, signal spotting stations, drone-mounted cameras, zoom lenses, magnifying glasses if you need to see some type of little clue close by that somebody left for you. Who knows? Night vision, thermal imagers. And then we get to using sounds to communicate as well. These are auditory signalings. I recommend everybody at least have a whistle. Everybody should have a whistle at all times. But you can use bells, foghorns. You can use hand crank sirens like this picture up there. You can use drums, gunshots, and a whole bunch of other things. Let's get a microphone.
I'm a high school basketball referee.
Yeah.
And I've been through, back in the old days, your gym teacher had a pea whistle, and they had a low warbly sound. It took a lot of wind to blow, and then they marketed into Acme Thunderers, and now the market's been in it for a long time, but they're called, I'm having a brain cramp, somebody help me. There's no peas in them. Joe Biden moment, I'm sorry. But they're very common. All sports officials use them now, and they don't take as much energy to blow. Yeah. And they're very, very, if I blew it loud right behind him, he would go, ouch.
No kidding.
Yeah,
that's
they're
awesome.
Athletic, they're sports whistles, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but
So you're not talking about these type of whistles, but metal, right? Because I got a metal one.
has that got a
on the
P
car.
in it?
Yeah.
Does it have a P in it?
Yeah.
A ball's in it?
Yep.
Yeah, you don't. There's better ones than that, and
No
they're
kidding.
very inexpensive. There are sports officiating whistles.
Like ASA material
ASA.
won't melt and they're pretty powerful.
You know, I'd love to see that if you
They're-
wouldn't
they're-
mind.
they're-
If you can.
P-less
what?
whistles, and I forget
Are they
the
really?
brand.
Can you
but they're
show me
very
later? I would love that. That would be awesome. Awesome. I love that. Thank you for bringing that up. When we're talking, go ahead. Did you have?
Also, it's good to have a family call.
Yeah.
If you're in a public place and there's suddenly a disaster
Yeah.
and there's people everywhere, how are you going to find your family?
Yeah.
My mom started this call when we were young because all the kids would be out in the neighborhood and you'd be yelling for your kids and nobody'd hear. So she started this call. She's like, "Woo!" just like that, you know. And she do it. We all go, "Oh, that's my mom," you know. So one time we were at an event and
Yeah.
my mom came kind of late and she could not find us in the stands. And we're like, "Mom, 1, 2, 3, Mom," you know, and we're trying. And I said, "Mom's call." So all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, woo! My mom was
Yeah.
doing this, and as soon as we did that, she's like, and she knew right where we
That's
were,
awesome. So
right there.
my wife's mom did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Or you can do Three Amigos if you've seen that, where you go, ka, look up here, look up here, look up. Oh, anyways, go back to that movie. It's fun. But good point. Having a family call is a really good idea for communication. Going back to talking about the gun, talking about bullets, or talking about shooting a gun, I was just with Larry Mudgett, who is the best gun trainer in the world, and he had a really good suggestion. If you ever get lost in the wilderness, you need help, have enough extra ammo to be able to use for communication alone. And the way he suggested doing it is by making it systematic. In other words, take that gun, take that shot, and go 3 times. Wait for a minute. 3 times. Wait for a minute. Wait, that's it. Now, you don't want to waste all your ammo, but it let people know that there's a pattern there. You might need some help. So an hour later, okay, you do the same thing. Wait for another hour or 3 hours or whatever you decide. Do it again until somebody can find you. So if they're looking for you, guns are a good way to communicate that, hey, I'm over here. I might need some help.
Pretty important to know where the bullet.
Let's get a microphone. Yeah, that's true.
I say it's pretty important. It's pretty important to know where the bullets are going to come down,
Yeah,
and that's a real danger.
exactly. Yeah, don't do it straight up. Exactly.
I've always heard of the 3-shot thing,
Yeah.
but did Larry teach, is there a reply or response if someone hears you? If they can shoot back, is there a response?
He didn't say anything about that, but it's a great idea. I mean, why not, right? You can shoot 3 back. We're looking for you, right? Why not?
I just didn't know if there was a response signal with someone else and they have a firearm.
He didn't mention it.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah. That's a good question. Good idea. Now let's get into distinctive smells. That's another way to use your senses to be able to communicate during an emergency. You can put vinegar, garlic, ammonia, colognes, perfumes, essential oils, or any other distinctive smell to indicate safe zones, danger, group locations, or other needs. The big key is, if you're going to use smells, communicate ahead of time what that smell means, right? If you smell that cologne, what does it mean? If you smell that perfume, what does it mean? Smell ammonia, what does it mean? So everybody in your group knows exactly what to do in that situation. And then there's nonverbal and written communications. It's a simple but useful technique during emergencies. It's a simple but useful technique during an emergency by using. You can use hand signals. You can use sign language to be able to communicate. You can use hand signals so that you don't alert somebody to what you're saying. Ah, man, what can I say there? What's a good way to put that? Yeah, you can use hand signals to call attention. You can use sign language to not alert someone. You can use sign language so people don't know what you're talking about to other people. You can use body language, notes or letters, drop points like they did back in the day. drop points, signs or markings, stone stacking or messaging. You'll notice in this picture right here, somebody put the word help on a beach. You can do that with plants. You can do that with plants and stones and leaves and trees and anything you can find, and anything you can find, and anything you can find. You can actually stomp in the sand if you need to. You can stomp in snow if you need to, in the dirt. You can make signs any way you need to be able to show people up in the sky or even down low what you need or where you're going or what's happening. And remember, you can always carve things into trees, into the sides of a home, into a fence. You can let people know. The point is, you just want to be creative when you come. The point is, you just need to be creative when it comes to communications. I don't think I did this one, right? This is different? Did I do this? Okay, let me just see. I did flags and banners. Did I do a lot of these? I did, right? Okay, so if I did a lot of these, let me just do this. Okay, we got nonverbal, written. I'm just gonna see if I have. Okay. I haven't done this. Okay, then let's do that. The last piece of advice I'd like to give you is using the triage system. It's a really cool system. If you've heard of the triage system, it's the way that we as first responders are able to come to a situation, usually a bad disaster, and we're able to see who we need to help first. And it allows us to see, man, I am really struggling to say this. This is the last slide. I can do this, guys. Thank you. Priority is the word I needed. Thank you. Yes, a good idea. Okay. That was a big hit. The last piece of advice I'd like to give is using the triage system to communicate. In the medical field or in EMS, in the medical field or EMS, we use 4 colors. In the medical world or EMS, when there's a disaster and we need to prioritize who we're going to help first medically, first aid wise, we use 4 colors. Just like you see on stoplights, you have green, yellow, and red. There's just one more color, and that's black. What these stand for is green is the walking wounded. It means they're okay, minor wounds, minor first aid, don't worry about them, pass them up. Then you get to yellow, which is caution. These are the people who are a little bit more serious, but it's not life-threatening. But then you get to red, and that's life-threatening. These are the people we need to focus on. And then black has to do with people who are dead or going to die. You just don't have the resources because you know they're not going to make it. So you focus on the red first, then you focus on the yellow, and then you focus on black or green, depending on who needs it the most, if there's a way to save that person who's in the black. When it comes to this type of communication, I've worked with different neighborhoods where they're trying to figure out how to set up communications quickly so that first responders and neighborhood representatives can know what's happening in every single home. Now, this can happen with a pandemic. This can happen with an earthquake, a hurricane, or whatever else. If you want to print off little sheets in these colors with little numbers there, you can put green, 2, yellow, 1, red, 3. What that means, black, 2, doesn't matter what it is. What it allows them to see is inside your window or in your front garage door, pasted out there or whatever, they can go quickly and see who needs help and who doesn't need help rather than taking time to knock on every single door. You can do this in a business. You can do this anywhere you want to. But again, going back to the idea is try to figure out creative ways of communicating during an emergency to the people you need to reach as quickly as possible so that less lives are lost during that emergency. Anyway, you've gotten through this lesson, and just to wrap it up, I'm going to encourage you to stop the video. I'm going to encourage you to end this video and create your long-term emergency communication plan, and make sure you have plenty of redundancies. Use the PACE plan if you need to, primary, alternative, contingency, emergency, anything you need to, but choose at least 3 different ways you're going to communicate during a bad emergency so that you can protect yourself and those you care about the most. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, thank you. You got an AED for me. That was the hardest time I've ever taught, and I don't know how long. Yeah, and also it's just lack of sleep and whatever else, but it's good. But anyways, my boy, I finished. And thank you guys online for being patient through all of that. I'm going to edit it, and next time you watch it, you're going to actually be able to watch something that actually is pretty cool, I think, hopefully. But anyways, yeah, and a lot shorter, right? Exactly. You did get a new pen. Awesome. Okay, so
Have
any
you ever-
questions, thoughts, or anything you guys want to go through?
Okay, so you have this equipment and stuff like that, but I don't think in any of your classes you've mentioned how to protect this equipment. I know you've talked to me personally and I've shared with people,
Yeah.
but I don't think you've ever gone through it with other people.
You know something? That's something I should bring up right now. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so what I'll do is, and she's talking about a little bit different, but let me go back to ham radios. So when we're talking about ham radios, with ham radios, there's good, I'm going to go through that real quick because I'm going to show you guys this. This will help out. Fox 40. Can somebody text that to me, if you don't mind? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, somebody. And I thought I had your phone number. I was looking for it in my phone. I didn't see it. Oh, man, I got to figure it out.
14 cards.
Yeah.
14 emails.
I thought I had you in my phone because I'll lose everything else except for that. All right, so let me go through a little bit. Oh, awesome. So I told her to send it to me so I can text you easier. All right. Now, when it comes to GMRS radios, I'm going to give you guys a couple brands that are pretty popular. You can look at which ones you want to do. Now, there's cheaper GMRS and there's more expensive GMRS radios. You'll notice that some of the cheaper ones are going to be Baofangs, depending on the model that you're looking at. B-Techs are the same thing. B-Tech is Baofeng Tech, right? It's the United States version of Baofeng. You have Ocean, which is spelled W-O-U-X-U-N, and that's pronounced Ocean. Pretty weird, right? That's actually a really good radio. You have Midland, you have a whole bunch of other ones. This is one that I got recently that I really like. It's actually making me want to get rid of my other ones or not use my other ones as much, and it's called the Rocky Talkie. The cool thing about it is it's submersible, it's waterproof, it's shockproof, and it's dumb-proof. I mean, it's like it doesn't have all the things to program, and that's great. I've got the programmable ones, and I could do a lot of amazing things with those. But this allows me still to connect to repeaters. It allows me to talk to people far away. It has the full 5 watts. I can take off the antenna, put longer ones, shorter ones. It doesn't matter. I can be in a river rafting boat and not worry about this at all. But it's just a really good GMRS radio, and this is the one I started using recently when I'm going to the backcountry or when I'm doing communication, preparedness practices and everything else. So this one's been a pretty good one. Now, anytime I find a better one, I'll put it underneath the video because this might get outdated a couple years from now.
What's the range?
The range, again, it depends on line of sight. So if you're looking at the range, I mean, I could probably get 2 to 5 miles out of this pretty easily, but if I'm on top of a mountain, I can get a lot further, right? And so it all depends. But because it has so much wattage, the full 5 watts, I can get a lot better than some of the ones that say 5 watts but don't really have 5 watts. Another thing we should talk about is the ham radios. There's a lot of cheaper ones and more expensive ones. When people say, should I get an expensive one or a cheap one? I go, get something. It doesn't matter. Get something. Any radio is better than no radio. What I've found is that I've got cheaper GMRS, I've got cheaper ham radios, and they work perfectly fine. If you talk to die-hard radio experts, ham radio experts, they're going to say all those Baofengs are throwaway. The radio oddities, they're throwaways, right? But they still work, and they're just fine. So Baofeng, radio oddity, B-Tech, those are some of the less expensive ones or cheaper ones, but there are some expensive ones with those names as well. The ones that if you want to go all out, I recommend 3 names as of the time we're doing this video, and that's Yaesu, and I've got a Yaesu right here, okay? And then ICOM is another big one, and then this is Kenwood right here. Now the cool thing about it is, you got to remember, you can take these radios and you can switch these antennas out anytime you want to. You see that? With this Kenwood one, I mean, this is probably about a $700, $800 radio right here. It's way expensive. But with this Kenwood right here, I can actually take a cord right here, and I'll just pull this out so you guys can see it. This is called a dipole antenna. And right here, I've got some coaxial cable that I can connect to this radio right here. And I can be talking on high frequency. Remember I talked about bouncing off the ionosphere, talking to different countries? I can do that with this radio. I could be listening in. All over the world, I can be hearing what's going on. Just by connecting it to this coaxial cable and then connecting it to this dipole antenna that I created right here that can go out about 100 feet each way. Really easy. Hook it up to some type of tree. It's really easy to be able to set this up, and then now I can be communicating all over the place. This is one of the more expensive radios, but it's just really good. Let's see if there's anything else I want to talk about. You brought up a question. I can't remember. Did I answer it?
No.
What was the question?
How to protect your stuff.
Got it. And then one more thing while I'm and one more thing I want to show you guys while I'm, I can't say it. While I'm showing you these radios, let me show you one more thing. A lot of people wonder how to protect your radio during an EMP attack. And right here, I got a really good high-end Faraday bag. I take my radios and I'll put them all in separate bags like this so I don't have to look through and figure out which power cable goes to which radio. So every single one of them has a bag, and I stick it inside here, lock it up, and it doesn't matter what type of EMP or solar flare attack happens. You know, some CME out in the middle of space hits the earth, my radios are protected at all times. So that's a good way to protect your radios as well.
What brand?
Huh?
Do you have a brand you like?
I probably don't want to say the brand because I don't want. I'm using Mission Darkness. They're a good one, but if I find a better one later, I'll put it underneath the video. So, okay, did that answer that question? That's what you were asking for, right? Okay, I figured. Any other questions? Did that cover pretty good? Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you. That was probably good that I added those radios because I think that's probably something that people will want to know. All right, guys, this is anticlimactic. We're done. You know, thank you so much for being here, you guys. Yeah, it's kind of surreal after 2 years of filming and writing this stuff and putting it together and thousands of hours. It's just weird to be done. I don't know why it was so hard. Yeah, that's true. Good point. I'll probably never be done, but I'm done with the course for now, right? Oh yeah, man, that was tough. Anyways, Kyle, thank you for doing that, buddy. And while I'm here, is there anything else I can serve you guys with? Anything else I can answer? It doesn't have to be communications. It could be anything.
For the masses here and on the line, on the GMRS,
Yeah.
they give us a price spread between the Baofeng, the V5R, up to that,
Yeah.
that green radio, blah, 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 Rocky Top.
Yeah. So I can't remember how much I paid for these, but
50 or something, aren't they?
yeah, so they're probably about that much. And by the way, we sell those. We can get those wholesale. So we can actually give you guys discounts on them as members. So all the members, obviously the members get discounts. We can get Rocky Talkie, we can get B-Tech, and we can get Ocean as well. So yeah, for two, right? Yeah, yeah, they're pretty pricey. With this part right here, no, I think I had to pay extra for this, if I remember right. But they're amazing radios. I'm super impressed by them. And like I said, you know, members, we can order them and we can get you discounts. So help you out. Yeah, so if you're talking about ham radios, like the Baofeng, the cheaper ones, and you're talking about GMRS, you can get them for like as cheap as 20 bucks online. It's crazy. You know, again, get something, right? You don't have to get the most expensive, but 20 bucks is nothing. But if you're going to go for more expensive ones, like some of the ones I have up here, you know, again, $600, $700, $800 just for a handheld. And if you're getting into some of the more expensive base stations, you can spend up $10,000 on a base station, right? So it's all over the board.
Okay, we got some online questions.
Okay.
So one person said, so ham radios are not dependent on line of sight, but is GMRS dependent on line of sight?
Both of them are still dependent on line of sight unless you get into high frequency. That's a different story because now it's bouncing off the ionosphere, right? Typically what happens with some of the higher frequencies is that they just go right into space. They just keep going. But high frequency has this ability to bounce back down. Does that make sense? So.
Okay, the next one is how will you power these in a long-term grid down?
That's why we had the part where you don't have any electricity. Those are the ideas. But in all reality, I have power units at home. Okay, I have the ability to do that. I do like high frequency. If all the repeaters went down on all the mountains and all the electricity went down, because I do have power at home, I do have them protected from EMP and everything else, I can power them up with my solar panels, and I could be talking or listening to people around the world if they have power where they're at, right? You know, if they have a radio going as well. Hopefully that answered the question. What else?
That was all.
Okay. Any other questions online? Oh, go ahead. We got a few more. Let's use the microphone for those people online so they can hear. Do you have the microphone?
I have something that's off of this.
Okay. Yeah. Totally. And again, I feel like it's like we're done and it's still daytime.
I just wanted to make a comment about GMRS.
Yeah.
I'm a stake communications leader.
Yeah.
And the church provided some good GMRS radios for us.
Yeah.
Now, I live up in Suncrest, up above Draper.
Yeah.
And our streets are greatly inclined.
Yeah.
We found that GMRS, regardless of the antennas, were worthless.
Yeah, because you can't get up.
So it's very important to recognize that you can't rely on GMRS for geological or for
exactly. It's not going to get over a mountain, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so many.
Unless there's a repeater, that's the difference, right? If there's a repeater up there at the top of the mountain, then it's gonna be able to.
I've never seen GMRS repeaters around here where I live.
Yeah, somebody has to. Where I live in Logan, there's plenty.
Whereas ham, you can buy one of those Baofeng UHF VHF radios for $30-40 on Amazon.
Yeah.
I have a couple of base stations and an inexpensive vertical antenna in my attic because we're in a HOA.
Yep.
And I can speak all over from Logan to Spanish Fork.
Or Spanish Fork, okay.
And that beats the heck out of any GMRS.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And again, the more difficult it is, the better, right? So you kind of want to graduate up to ham radio if you can. And like I said, going back to what I was telling you about, even if you don't want to take the test, learn how to do it. because you can always listen in. And you can listen to the police radio station. You can listen to the fireman radio. You can get so much information listening all over the world, and it gives you good practice.
The Rocky Talkies.
Yeah.
Are they going to be on your website, or do I just talk to you?
Talk to Celeste for now, but we'll probably put them on the web. Oh, actually, you know something? I can't remember if they allow us to do that. So they
Okay,
might
talk
not
to
allow.
Celeste.
Yeah, talk to Celeste.
Okay. The other question is, do you know about the bow fangs and the locked versus unlocked situation?
So I don't think so. So I've heard some things about Baofeng, but I'm wondering if it's the same thing I'm thinking about.
Well, there's
So some people.
I'm not an expert. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to learn, but
Oh
basically.
yeah. So you can
buy
get on
radios
GMRS.
because they're ham radios.
Yeah. So you can get on.
And there was a thing with the FTC or the YMCA or whoever it
Yeah.
was about bringing them in unlocked. So
And
you
I
could,
actually had one of mine unlocked.
and then
so
you
I
can
created it.
unlock. Anyway, I just know if you could speak to that because the ones I bought are the UV5Rs, and I got extra antennas, long battery, and it was like $40 on Amazon for 2.
Yeah.
Screaming deal. But
Yeah.
anyway.
No, it's amazing. No, it's good. Now, from what I understand, you're not supposed to get on GMRS, but you can get onto those stations on ham if you really needed to during an emergency. The other thing I've heard is, and this is a rumor, so I don't know if I even should. This is not being. This was being recorded, but not recorded. But sometimes people are a little worried about the Baofangs and the B-Techs because of the Chinese technology inside there as spy technology. And so they're thinking that's one of the reasons why they're putting it out so cheap for people to buy it. Or blow you up, yeah, exactly. So there's people that are worried about some of that stuff. The Japanese stuff I'm probably less worried about. You know, when you're talking about Yaesu and all the better brands, right?
So I have some friends that got together, and I wasn't able to go to this meeting last week, but they had a group from St. George who had set up a private radio network. Have you heard about that? Private radio network.
Network, maybe I don't.
Okay, so they set this up, and they had been practicing beforehand. The lady had like an inspiration on how to set this up way before anything happened.
Yeah.
But there was a BLM protest planned for St. George, and they brought in 5 busloads of people to destroy St. George. But because they had
Wait, just recently, or
yeah, with the BLM, when the BLM was doing
oh, you're talking about back in the day,
and in 20 whatever it was, 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
So not recently, because I've been watching. I've
Right.
been watching. So just
riots,
FYI,
yeah.
I talked to a friend of mine who's pretty connected, and that friend told me that there's going to be some pretty interesting things happening. And if you notice, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the pallets of bricks being dropped off and everything else. You know, even cinder bricks that people can put in backpacks break apart, and now you have a bunch of little ones to throw, right?
Yep.
But it's interesting. If people don't think some of this stuff is funded, I mean, it's stupid. You know, you're not going in with eyes wide open, right?
Well, they had planned ahead because
Yeah.
this lady had this inspiration. And so they'd already been practicing, and they'd already had a small militia that was people that had guns and wanted to know how to organize. So they had already planned it, and they used their private radio network so nobody could tell what their movements were. They quickly had 600 armed men gathered, and they were on every major corner, and they patrolled the city. A biker group even came to assist, and they were driving around the city watching for trouble and would report back to this lady so she could send help to certain areas. This was all using her private radio network that she had set up. Since no one else could spy on their communications, they were secure in their intel and were able to talk to and assist each other when needed. The police department came to her and asked how they could support her. So anyway, they went and they had a meeting to describe how they had put this together.
That's really interesting.
plan ahead.
Have you heard about that? The private network? I haven't either. Well, have you? Well, could you give me more information?
Yeah.
I'd love to study it if you don't mind.
Definitely.
So that
Yeah,
would
it's
be
great
fun.
to be, plan ahead and be already. So I'm in a group that every Tuesday in our neighborhood, we get on our ham radios and we talk and we figure out who needs a better antenna so that when something happens, we already have 2 stations set up, our original set up and our second.
So
we
this
don't.
is the private radio network is outside
Separate.
of.
This is
it's
separate.
totally
This is just my neighborhood.
Okay,
but
got it.
we have 2 stations set up, so we don't have to say go to 104.652. We
Yeah.
already know, and we just switch to it, and so nobody else could follow us because they don't know where we're going. If
Okay.
ours has people on it, we go to the second one, and we even have a third backup so that we can talk amongst our neighbors if we need to. Yes.
Yeah.
That's ham.
That's cool.
But this private radio network is something different. So I'll get you the information on it. I
I
didn't
would
go to
love
the
that.
meeting, but it sounded
Yeah.
like they thwarted their attack. Basically, they were so well organized that
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's the thing about it is people ask me about where I would and wouldn't live. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I don't care if you're religious or not religious. The truth is, I don't want people who are emotional. Does that make sense? People who watch something on the news and then they get scared, angry, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Because that's what becomes dangerous, is the emotions. It's the people who aren't thinking logically anymore, Oh yeah, so supposedly the 14th. So if you look on nommorekings.org, and is no kings.org, I think is what it is, not no more kings. Which one? I think it's nokings.org, something like that. They're showing you all the different protests for the whole United States. A whole bunch of stuff. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I noticed that. I actually looked it up, and I'm like, that's so interesting. Yeah, exactly. I'm in a pretty safe place. So any other questions, thoughts,
Yep.
anything else online? Anything?
Can you expound on the Meshtastic system and how you will use it?
Awesome. Okay, so the Meshtastic, and by the way, there's a couple companies you can look into for Meshtastic if you don't want to do it yourself. And I'll give you just a couple of them. Let me just find it real quick. The ones I would recommend, where did I put it? Meshtastic. There's one called Seed, which is SEEED, the 3 E's, and that's a SenseCap D1L. There's a LilyGo or T-Echo, LilyGo T-Echo or T-Beam, and then there's another one that the military and others are using it, and I looked into it a long time ago. It's called, give me a second and I'll tell you what it is. It is Gotenna. That's what it is. Gotenna. And the way you spell it is Gotenna. Gotenna. Now, those are all Meshtastic. I just went to my friend and we went and bought some circuit boards. We 3D printed these. Okay, you just downloaded from the internet and we created our own. So instead of paying hundreds of dollars, we did it for like $50, So just a cheap way to do it. But it gave me a chance to start testing it out. The way these would be used during an emergency is for something local. So where I live is on a hill. And so I ended up testing out this Meshtastic. And I noticed that on my computer, I'll pull up my computer. Where's my computer? Let me just show you guys. Great question, by the way. Pull this over here since I'm done using it. If you go to my phone, I have a program. And if you go to my computer, let me just pull this up. I'll try to show it for you guys. Let's take off screen mirroring because I don't think I need it anymore. And this right here is pulling up. You can't see it right now, but there's a Meshtastic program on my computer where I can actually see a map of everyone in my area, and I can see their GPS locations with people I want to talk to, and I could be connecting to people locally. Again, this is a line of sight. If you go too far, it goes over the curvature of the earth, right, and you can't do anything. But up where I am, I'm on a hill, and because of that, because I'm on that hill, I can literally be talking to somebody 10 miles away on this thing, a long ways away. And so during an emergency, it's not my first go-to, by the way. During an emergency, I would go to radios because it's just so much easier. But if I needed to, I can go to this just to text. It's not voice at all, it's just text. Now, with the satellite stuff coming out, I don't know. I mean, this right here, you can put it privately. You can take the GPS off so nobody knows where you are. You can make it completely encrypted. That's probably a positive thing, maybe going back to your private radio network, right? But that's probably how I'd use it. It's just very local with a few friends who have systems like these as well that we can text back and forth if all the radios went down, if all the cell phone towers went down, and all I have is my cell phone and my computer that I can charge up with my power unit at home. So hopefully that answers.
Oh, and so a couple people were mentioning I got texted. The name of the whistle again was Fox 40.
Fox 40.
Fox 40.
Wait, is that the one that kind of has the twirlies?
No,
That's
It's got
different.
4 different slots in it. You can, Walmart has them occasionally, but you can get them anywhere.
Okay.
But anyway, it's a real sports official. That's, you know, if you have a P whistle, you're
The
Really?
P whistles are
You're
no
not
good.
cool anymore if you have a P whistle.
haven't been cool for 30 years.
Oh man.
Not cool for 30 years. I'm repeating yours.
Oh, this one. Is this the one you're talking about?
This is the one I use.
That's the one yeah, I think, yeah, that one's pretty loud. But I don't think that's the one he's talking about.
No, he's talking about what's black.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're black. 'Cause
Yeah.
They're referee whistles, but I don't know how big that is. But this is just a regular whistle. You would know it's any different, but it's very loud. It doesn't take as much air to blow it to make it loud.
Huh.
And it's
Let me take a look at it.
But anyway, they're
Yeah, let me,
referee whistles.
like, I'll plan on buying one and testing it out. So
If I put
let's go. Did you have other questions online?
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's just to reiterate during an emergency that you don't need a call sign to use ham.
Yes, good point. So I'm going to bring that up because that's a really good point. Am I still on being recorded, Kyle? Okay, it sounds a little bit lower for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of that microphone. So I'm going to emphasize, as soon as I know I'm being recorded, I get nervous. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I'm going to emphasize something that's super duper important. I'm going to emphasize something that's super duper important. During an emergency, all the rules are gone. You don't need a call sign. You don't need a ham radio license. You don't need anything. If it's an emergency and lives and property are in danger, you can use any radio you want to, anytime you want to. Does that make sense? So that's can bring a little bit of comfort to those of you who don't want to take that ham radio test, right? Let's go. Did I answer all the questions out there? Okay.
Do you strongly recommend to store your radios in a Faraday bag?
I do. Again, so with
You're different than most of us. but
Yeah.
Do you because of a potential EMP attack?
yeah, and the thing is, you don't have to spend as much money as I did on a Faraday bag. You can build a trash can. You can do. There's so many different ways to do it. You know, you don't. Here's my recommendation: better safe than sorry. A lot of people say there's a whole bunch of debate whether the EMP is going to even be able to do anything to a cell phone or to a computer or to a radio that's small because the circuitry is so small. And they're thinking, oh, that's not going to be touched by an EMP. Other people say, well, it could be. There could be some damage to that. Guess what my philosophy is? Why take a chance? I'll just put it in a Faraday bag, and guess what? I'm not using it right now. Put it back in the Faraday bag when I need it. Pull it out. I've got some redundancies. I've got more radios, right? And so if anything does happen to one of them, I got another one and another one and another one, right? Go ahead. I don't. So
Okay.
yeah, do I cover with a EMP cloth? I don't.
Car.
Yeah, and they do have the EMP shields and all that for the cars and everything. I haven't studied enough to see if it's really real. So I started studying and I went down a rabbit hole and I found some comments that started getting me down a further rabbit hole. And then I started going, oh my goodness, there's a loophole in this. And then I lost that information. It's been a few years and I can't remember it. But when I have time, I'd probably go through it again.
So how old of a car? Where's the car? We talked about this before, but
Yeah.
you should keep an older vehicle that wouldn't be affected by an EMP. Do you have any idea on
Because
the
of the
years?
computers or whatever else, yeah. So anything pre-computers is what they're talking about, right? It's the type of cars that you can actually get inside the engine well and work on the car engine, right? Like we used to when we were kids, right? Now it's like it's so packed, you're just trying to get your hand one little tiny bit in there, just unscrew something, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, you had a slide up there about
Let's get.
you had a slide up there about off-grid communications.
Yeah.
Is that the what's an example of an off-grid?
So anything where
radio?
you're using your 5 senses. So anything where you don't have radio power, electricity, nothing like that anymore. So you're trying to see what can I do to see communication, what can I do to hear communication, smell communication, touch communication. You get the idea, right?
Okay, yeah. So it wasn't like one of those crank radios that you were talking about.
That's auditory, yeah, that you can hear it. So crank radio, you can hear it, and that's a form of communication that you can use Does that make sense? Anything where you can use your senses, any of your 5 senses without electronics. Any other questions, thoughts, anything else? Go ahead.
If you were to lose everything, you could still whistle if you learn and teach your kids how to whistle really loud.
Absolutely.
So I've got a really loud whistle. And when someone needs something, I'm like, here, I'll call everybody. I'll quiet it down for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's everybody's like, whoa, you know, but so you can't lose your whistle unless you cut off all your fingers. But some people can do it without their fingers. But, you know, it's smart to just learn these skills so that if everything is lost to you, but what you have on you, what can you still do?
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that simple example of a whistle, right? Where I might not be in trouble in using the whistle, but I might want to save my breath, my energy, with somebody a mile down and just go, and we have a way of back. That means come back here, or I'm going to go there, or whatever you have as communication. You can save so much time and energy just by using simple devices like a whistle and some type of communication plan with that whistle, right? 2 whistles mean this, 3 whistles, your fingers, it doesn't matter what it is, right?
Now, an interesting thing that just I remembered is a movie I watched recently.
Yeah.
Where people were humming or singing a certain tune to collect people.
Huh.
And as people were singing a certain song, they knew they were a part of a certain tribe.
Part of the group. I remember
Part of the
watching that
group.
movie. Yeah.
Yep. And then
they sing a song only that group would know.
Would know, exactly.
Yeah. And again, auditory, right? Nobody else knew that song had anything to do with anything, but they knew that their group knew that song and nobody else did. So they just sang a song, like just walking, singing a song, and they were able to gather their whole group together, even though they didn't know who each other were, even though they didn't know each other's faces. The song brought them together because they knew that only that group would have known that song. So that's powerful. Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments, ideas? Anything else? You guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yep.
On the Blue Eddy batteries, remember the Blue Eddies? Do you still use those?
Do.
You still like
Yep.
those?
Most of mine are Blue Eddies.
Okay.
And EcoFlow is the other one I've been looking at. EcoFlow has gotten better. They used to have the wrong battery technology, and they've actually improved a lot of their batteries. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah, because I knew that
So.
you were a Blue Eddy fan, but then went over, you were looking at something else.
Yeah,
instead.
EcoFlow.
Hey,
Hi, my
Josh,
boy.
you wanna hear something
Hi, my
interesting
boy. What's
on
that?
the solar?
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody called me yesterday.
And Kyle, we're done, so go ahead and stop it. It's good.